Donald Trump has approved a strike plan on Iran. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Donald Trump has approved a U.S. military strike plan on Iran. But wait, he's holding off on giving the final order. He wants to negotiate with Iran, and we all hope that's the case. He actually said the Iranians want to come to the White House, and that may happen. I hope so. Anything is better than a drawn-out, protracted war. And if you win without having to actually get involved and waste money and resource, that sounds like a good plan. Hopefully, this is just Trump's big ask. Saber rattles, makes it look like we're gearing for war, but then brings them to the table. Well, maybe that's what happens, but we also have the story that I think a lot of people missed yesterday. China sent a mysterious plane, a transport, we don't know exactly what it is, to Iran. Maybe it's to evacuate, maybe it's supplies, who knows, but it was a single plane. Still, interesting. Then we've got, over at the Pentagon, one of Hegseth's top guys escorted out of the building. This may be another leaker. We'll talk about that. Plus, we've got a bunch more. Obama says we are steps away from autocracy because apparently he was sleeping for the past 7 or 8 years, not paying attention to what was going on with the Democrats locking up Donald Trump, his confidants, his lawyers and associates. Holy crap. We got a lot to talk about, my friends. Before we do, we got a great sponsor. We got Home Title Lock. If you're a homeowner, you need to listen to this. In today's AI and cyber world, scammers are stealing home titles and your equity is the target. Here's how it works. Criminals forge your signature on one document, use a fake notary stamp, pay a small fee with your county, and just like that, your home title has been transferred out of your name. Then they take out loans using your equity or even sell your property, and you won't even know it's happened until you get a collection or foreclosure notice. So when's the last time you checked your home title? If your answer is never, you need to do something about it right now. And that's why we're partnering with Home Title Lock so you can find out today if you're already a victim. Use my promo code TIM at HometitleLock.com and you'll get a free title history report and a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title, urgent alerts to any changes, and if fraud does happen, they'll spend up to $1 million to fix it. Very cool. Go to HometitleLock.com and use promo code TIM. Once again, HometitleLock.com, promo code TIM. But wait, there's more. We got PDSDebt.com as well. Folks, the American dream is under attack, and hardworking patriots like you are being crushed under mountains of debt. Why? Because creditors love debt. They want you to be stuck in their high-interest trap. They want you drowning in student loans, credit card debt, and skyrocketing mortgage rates. Because when you're broke, you're controllable. So what do? You take control, you fight back, and that starts with PDS Debt. They've helped tens of thousands of people live debt-free. They go beyond the numbers to understand your unique financial situation and craft a personalized plan designed just for you. There's no minimum credit score required. They're here to help you save more, pay off your debt faster, and start putting money back where it belongs in your pocket. PDS Debt is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, boasts hundreds of 5-star reviews on Google, and holds a 5-star rating on Trustpilot. Why? Because PDS has helped tens of thousands of people get out of debt. Stop living in debt. Get your free assessment and find the best option for you right now at pdsdebt.com/Tim. You're just 30 seconds away from starting to get out of debt. That's pdsdebt.com/Tim. One more time, pdsdebt.com/Tim. Shout out and thanks for sponsoring the show. But also, my friends, don't forget, you must smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know, including your grandma. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more, we got Mike Doran.
Hello.
Who are you? What do you do?
I am the senior fellow at the Hudson Institute, where I work on the Middle East.
So you know a whole lot about what's going on right now with all this Iran-Israel stuff.
I do.
Oh, so you're the perfect guy to be here. Well, I appreciate it. It should be fun and insightful. I look forward to you explaining things to us. So thanks for hanging out.
Great to be here.
We got Brett hanging out.
Yes, guys, I'm not expected to know anything about what's going on in the Middle East, but we're going to talk about it because normally I'm doing Pop Culture Crisis Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is noon Pacific. You should join us there.
But you know about Caitlin Clark.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes.
She got body checked.
Well, she's been getting body checked for like the last year.
You also know about the made-for-TV movie that's made about the real events that we're
Look,
talking
I
about.
saw Zero Dark 30 and Argo. We're good. Let's do this.
Good stuff.
That's all we need.
My name is Phil Levanti. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm an anti-communist and a counter-revolutionary. Let's get into it.
Here's the story from the Wall Street Journal. Trump privately approved of attack plans for Iran, but has withheld the final order. The president is hoping that threatening to join Israel's strikes will lead Tehran to abandon its nuclear program. They say, since his private instructions in the White House Situation Room to the military, Trump has disclosed publicly that an attack is an option. Quote, I have ideas on what to do, but I haven't made a final. I'd like to make the final decision 1 second before it's due, he told reporters. Very Trumpian. Trump is hoping that threatening to join Israel's strikes in Iran, which continued for a 6th day, will compel Tehran to meet his demands. The People said he acknowledged that a U.S. attack was under consideration, but said he still might decide against it. Well, we do have this. Trump says he may meet with Iran at the White House. This is amazing. We actually have a clip. Let's roll the tape.
Look, they should have made the deal. I had a great deal for them. They should have made that deal. 60 days we talked about it, and in the end they decided not to do it, and now they wish they did it. And they want to meet, but it's it's a little late to meet, but they want to meet, and they want to come to the White House. They'll even come to the White House. So we'll see. I may do that, but it's a shame it could have been done the easy way. Look.
Could have been done the easy way. Well, I certainly would prefer that. But what do you think, Mike? Do you think the Iran's going to come to the table, actually negotiate something legitimate, or do you think we go to war?
I think they're in really bad shape. I think they're only now starting to understand how bad everything is. Israel's in total control of the skies of Tehran. I think this is something they couldn't have imagined. Today, completely blue skies, and Israel was bombing in the daylight. Wow. Iran hasn't shot down a single drone or a single jet of the Israelis, as far as I know. Just amazing. Do
you think there's a possibility that Iran may bring in some allies?
I don't think so. I don't know who would do it. Who could do it? There's nobody. There's the only power in the area that could cause Israel significant trouble is Turkey, and it's not inclined to. I mean, Israel has an unimpeded air bridge from Israel across Syria into Iran. If the Turks wanted to cause trouble, they could. They don't want to do that. Nobody is upset about what Israel's doing. They don't want to participate in it, but everyone wants to see Iran's nuclear program destroyed.
There was a story earlier about Russia giving some kind of warning, but the warning was actually just fears of destabilizing the region. All these different news outlets are trying to make it seem like Putin was saying, Trump, I'm going to come for you and join Iran. He was actually saying, oh, man, if Iran falls, that could destabilize the region. It wasn't even Putin. It was a foreign minister, an advisor, I guess. And so it really just sounds like they're all kind of saying, yeah, Iran, you're on your own on this one. We don't want to get involved.
I know for a fact that Khamenei called Putin after Trump was elected. And because in October, the Israelis knocked out all of the air defenses of the Iranians. And they were, at that point, totally naked before the Israelis. And Khamenei called Putin and said, he didn't ask, he ordered him. He said, when you were in trouble, I came to help for you. You must come and help me now. And Putin said, niet. So this is, Putin has been keeping a certain amount of distance from Iran since Trump was elected.
A lot of people one of the strongest arguments about, against going to for the U.S. getting involved in anything going on with Iran is that there would be a rush to support Iran from not just Russia, but also China. Neither of them seem to be doing anything. Do you think that changes the equation regarding China and Taiwan as well, or do you think that these are too different to make comparisons?
It's really to me, it's a huge question, a hugely important question. How is China going to read the implications of the Iran war for its relations with us over Taiwan? And I don't know that I have a good sense of that. I think that Trump taking his whole point about peace through strength, I think the stronger he is, the more decisive he is, the more he'll be able to deter Xi Jinping. But how Xi Jinping is reading it, it's not clear to me. One little small thing that's interesting about China and Iran. The Israelis, we say that their goal is to destroy the Iranian nuclear program, but it's not exactly true. They have two goals: destroy the nuclear program and also destroy the ballistic missile program. And the reason for that is that last October, when the Iranians struck the Israelis, what they did is they saturated one level of the Israeli air defense with these medium-range ballistic missiles. They got through and hit the Nevatim air bases, which is where the Israelis have the F-35, and it really rattled the Israelis. So they responded by taking out the part of the production supply chain, the production chain of the Iranians for these ballistic missiles. They destroyed these mixers for making the solid fuel propellant. And the Israelis calculated at that time that they had set the production of the ballistic missiles back, or stopped the production, for at least a year. But what happened was the Chinese moved in and gave the Iranians new equipment, and then the Iranians started a plan to double or triple their supply of these weapons, or their arsenal of these weapons, within the next 5 years. And if they had got that kind of arsenal, from the Israeli point of view, that would be the equivalent of an atomic bomb, even though it's a conventional weapon, because of the firepower it would have. So there's kind of two things that are pushing the Israelis forward, and one of them is this. One of them is the fact that China is helping Iran, but from not in a direct way. I don't think they'll intervene directly militarily, but they'll be there to try to help Iran rebuild.
They'll violate U.S. sanctions, right? Because that's what they're doing on these with that, or are there no sanctions on the parts that Iran would need to?
They do it. They do it through companies. So it's they will violate sanctions, but they'll also play fast and loose. And it's a kind of then a sort of a whack-a-mole game of trying to find which part of China you're going to, which entity in China you're going to go after in order to prevent this from happening.
Does this hurt Trump's credibility? I notice he gives himself an out at the end of his speech there, where he says, or I might not do it at all, basically, which is like, look, I could do this. I could end up doing all these things, but I might not. That way it doesn't look bad if the time runs out on the arbitrary timeline he gave Iran, and then they don't come to the table, and then him not acting ends up making him look weak, which is why he gives himself that out there. Or do you think it'll be perceived as weakness by the rest of the world? If the time runs out, nobody comes to the table and the U.S. doesn't get involved.
We don't know we don't know what the negotiation. There's clearly a negotiation going on. The Iranians are sending messages. He's not totally happy with them, so he's trying to move them, but we don't know what it is. So I think it gives him options. Yeah. He always likes that, to keep options open.
That's to say,
I don't see it's a bad thing.
It felt like the type of thing where, like, if he doesn't make that statement at the end there, then it's going to be perceived a certain way. So the messaging was designed to give him that out.
It kind of feels like, based on the news about, as you're describing, Israel's just bombarding Iran. Iran's not blocking any of it. They've got no defenses for this. And Israel's heavily defended. It looks like Iran's already been crushed.
I wouldn't go that far. Because there's another article in the Wall Street Journal about the magazine of the Israelis, their interceptors running out, because the interceptors to shoot down the ballistic missiles are much more expensive than the missiles themselves, because you have to build a much more sophisticated missile to hit a missile than the one coming in, and then sometimes it takes 2 or 3 to do it. So the Israelis are running up against the clock. And the Iranians are running a marathon.
Interesting.
And the Israelis are sprinting, which is one of the reasons why I think Trump might actually bomb Iran.
Wow. I mean, yeah, I hadn't considered that, and it sounds like that's what's going to happen.
I'd be willing to bet on it.
Iran's basically saying, we're going to wait until Israel's defenses are run out, and then go full bore.
Well, I think what they would do is they would, if they could, but because it's a kind of a race. I think they would like to demonstrate that they're not going to be toppled, and wait until they can see that Israel is having trouble with interceptors, and then producing interceptors, and then start a serious negotiation with Trump. If they could hold out that long. And then Trump that would give Trump leverage over Israel to shut the thing down if he were so inclined. Like their only way out is to have the United States protect them from Israel, or to have Israel run through its magazine.
And so you think the most likely outcome then will be Trump Trump will order a strike on Iran?
I think he probably will. It depends, unless they come with. Basically, he said to the. I mean, we have to think about probabilities. So I know that not one thing or another. I think the highest probability is that Trump will bomb Fordo, the fortified facility under the mountain, because that's all the Israelis want from the Americans. In terms of American
Bunker
intervention,
busters.
they want the bunker busters and the B-2 bombers. So that's they want that operation. And Trump is going to look at this and see, unless the Iranians are coming and capitulating and saying, we will destroy our nuclear program, we will destroy all the underground facilities, we'll do it under IAEA and supervision and so forth. Unless they say that, then they're just playing for time. And he's going to see that the closer the Israelis get to running through their magazine, the more they're going to be inclined to take extreme measures to put pressure on the Iranians. And he'll see it as the least worst option will be to just destroy the program, and then we're done.
Interesting. Well, let's jump to the story from the Telegraph. We missed this one yesterday. Serge found it. China sends mystery transport planes into Iran. Flight plans indicate a final destination of Luxembourg, but the aircraft appear to have never flown near European skies. Take a look at this map. This is fascinating. You can see all of the planes that are avoiding this area for good reason. Iran, Iraq, Syria, Jordan, Israel. Ain't nobody flying over these countries right now. Save for a few. We've got this one, CLX 9877. They say, the day after Israel attacked Iran on Friday, a cargo plane took off from China. The next day, a second plane departed from a coastal city. Then on Monday, yet another departed, this time from Shanghai. 3 flights in 3 days. They say to add to the mystery, flight plans indicated a final destination of Luxembourg, but the aircraft appeared to have never flown near European skies. Aviation experts have noted the type of plane used, Boeing 747 freighters, are commonly used for transporting military equipment and weapons and hired to fly government contract orders. Quote, these cargoes cannot but generate a lot of interest because of the expectation that China might do something to help Iran, said Andrea Giselli, a lecturer at the University of Exeter, who specializes in China's relations with the Middle East and North Africa. They're going to mention that China and Iran are strategic partners, aligned primarily in their opposition to the U.S.-led world order and in favor of a new multipolar phase in global diplomacy. They mention Iran is one of China's key energy suppliers, sending as many as 2 million barrels of oil a day. So it's no surprise that Beijing might be looking for ways to support and stabilize the Islamic Republic. Now, I'm wondering, could these have been evacuations? Maybe they're trying to. Trump says the Ayatollahs. We know where he is. We can get him when we want to. Could these planes be meant to get people out of the country safely?
I don't see why not.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it could be anything. We were just talking.
I don't see why they'd be bringing in military equipment, to be honest.
Maybe though.
Unless it's uranium.
They could have been bringing in components.
Yeah.
Something.
Microcontrollers, chips for
Maybe
rockets.
something to do with air defense. I really have no idea. It could be anything.
What about you, Brett?
Yeah.
Is there any movie that you've seen that will explain what's going on?
Actually,
The thing that I thought was funny about it is like, what if somebody's really need to get to the other side really, really fast? They're like, look, we're not going to go around. We're just going to. Like, sure, a missile might hit us, but we've got places to be.
Well, that is this story. Check this out, this tweet.
can I call somebody?
Yeah. Well, I mean, who is it?
His name is John Kasapoğlu. He works with me. He's a Turkish open source military analyst. He'll have an idea. Do you want to? Should I do it?
I mean, yeah, if he doesn't mind
Be
being live to, millions of people, I guess.
We'll find out. Here we go.
He's going to be like, what do you mean I'm on the air? All right, let's get,
He'll be all right
we're going
with
to phone a friend to get an answer
Yeah.
as to what these Chinese transports are.
That rules.
In the meantime, while you're getting him on the phone, we have this one. Alex Fazio posted this image. Someone wasn't monitoring the situation, and there's a lone UAE flight going straight over Iran. I love this. Patrick Blumenthal said, quote, I deleted my social media and stopped reading the news, and honestly, my mental health has been so much better.
See,
I'm
pilot.
on air right now on a podcast to millions of people, and I want to beam you in. Is that all right? Yeah, to millions of people, and I want to beam you in. Is that okay? Are you ready to?
Just say
Okay.
yes.
Okay, here we go. I'll put you on.
Yeah.
What's that?
You can just, yeah.
Like that? And he'll be able to.
On top, on the top part.
Really?
No.
No.
You're-
Get your mouthpiece, put it on the top of that.
Like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, hey. Oh, okay. All right. And don't put it on speaker.
Nope.
No, don't put it. Can he talk? Maybe we can hear him.
Hey, John, talk.
No, I can't hear him.
Okay,
You
hold
might
on.
have to do the earpiece.
Speaker.
Here, I'll just
Yeah, put it on
speaker.
speakerphone.
Okay, talk now.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah. Now you can put up to the microphone.
Okay, now put up the microphone. So John, we're looking at a map, and there was in the Telegraph. There's this report that a Chinese plane, or
Three of them.
three Chinese planes, a couple of days ago flew into Iran. What do you think they did? What are they doing?
Depends what kind of planes they are. Are they cargo planes?
Yes.
Like strategic lifts?
Yes, cargo planes.
So if they're cargo planes and if they're Chinese, I would say my number one guesstimate would be solid propellant components for Iranian missiles.
Wow.
Really?
My second guesstimate would be guidance systems or microprocessors for, again, Iranian missiles. My third guesstimate, and these are all like I'm ranking them according to their probability, my third guesstimate would be a Chinese attempt to boost Iranian air defenses or electronic warfare systems, but this is helpless against Israeli technologies. I know the Iranians use Chinese anti-ship missiles, but I don't think in this case they are looking for them. Iranian Shahid drones have Chinese DNA, so my fifth guesstimate would be some drone components. But if I had to bet on one thing, I would say is Iran needs solid propellant medium-range ballistic missiles against Israel as a counteroffensive deterrent. And I know that the Israelis hit their solid propellant production facilities hard back in October 2024. Wow. So if they had one chance to go Chinese for something, and if I were advisor to Khamenei, I would go for this.
Okay.
So the full missiles?
No, the solid propellant, because missiles are like missiles are like superstructures. So you have to produce the microprocessors, mission computers, multiple re-entry vehicles, the fins, the airframes. The part that the Iranians are mostly depending on the Chinese is the solid propellant fuel for the solid propellant ballistic missiles. Why solid propellant is very important? Because it minimizes the launch cycle almost 3-to-1 compared to liquid fuel systems. And it is very important in two kinds of situations. First, if your adversary is flying over your airspace and looking for your transporter erector launchers, which is the cool way of saying the vehicles that launch your ballistic missiles. And second, if you want to boost the surprise factor against your adversary, like a blitz, like a lightning attack.
Interesting.
I want you to know John's getting married on Saturday.
Oh, okay. Congratulations.
And
yeah, thank you.
And it's in the middle of the night for him.
Oh,
3 a.m.
Oh, wow. Thanks for calling in.
This is the
hot sneeze.
whenever I have a question about what's happening militarily in the world, I can call him up in the middle of the night, and he never complains, even when he's about to get married.
I mean, it sounds spot on. This is actually what you and we were just speculating as to what this may be, components for missiles or something, or
But he said it with a much greater degree of certainty.
I know, it's fantastic.
Yeah, the Chinese, actually, we know that the Chinese wanted to ship those to the Iranians. And some news stories suggest that they did it. But 100% we know that they tried to do that by sea lanes. But if they dispatched an airlift, a strategic airlift, and if it is really solid propellant components, it means that the Chinese and the Iranians, because they are the demanding party, they were in a hurry, literally. Yet again, there comes another question. If they were in a hurry, why in the world their generals were sleeping in their beds in the country apartments of Tehran?
Yeah.
So I looked it up. 3 cargo planes, 747s, can carry 360 metric tons of solid fuel.
Yeah.
793,000 pounds.
Yeah. And it would equip like high double-digit numbers of medium-range ballistic missiles.
Wow.
Yeah.
The internet says it could be 12 ICBMs, 24 to 36 MRBMs, and 60 to 90 SRBMs.
26 MRBMs? No, much higher.
So,
Much higher, because you can play with it. Like, look, it is like a child's play. If you reduce the warhead weight, then you need less fuel.
Yeah.
For instance, the Khorramshahr missile that the Iranians fired, like signal fired, it is more than test fired, like signal fired a few days ago, the warhead was almost empty. They wanted to show something. Yeah.
Right.
So it depends.
Wow.
But it's going to get dangerous because they have some toys that they haven't demonstrated yet. Like Fatih 2, like Khorramshahr with an actual warhead. The actual warhead is more than 3 times the warhead of the Hajj Qassam missiles, for instance, or Emad missiles that they have been throwing at the Israelis.
So is it possible that right now Iran is using weaker warheads to try and run out the interceptors?
I wouldn't say the weaker warheads. I would say the mid-range warheads in their arsenals. Like these are not the weakest, the weakest links in the overall Iranian arsenal, but these are not the rock stars either. Like the rock stars are still waiting.
So the question was: is it possible that they're holding back somewhat in order to run down the magazine of the Israelis?
Yeah, of course, because you look. Like the magazine depth, the interceptor magazine, which interceptor we use it for defensive missiles that intercept other missiles, like the Arrow missiles, like the THAAD missiles. So the magazine depth is at the highest point during the opening stages of a conflict. Okay, so you want to throw, you have to be very careful. Like you want to throw your less important assets in the beginning of a conflict to deplete the adversary's interceptors, but you cannot go very weak and very low with that, because also you have to signal that you are powerful and you are capable of inflicting damage to your adversary. So what the Iranians are doing right now, like Hajj Qassam, Emad, these kind of missiles, this is the sweet spot, and I think their choice of weapons are really good. I would advise the same if I were advising Khamenei, if I were on the dark side.
Interesting. Wow. Thanks, man. This has been very insightful.
Okay, John. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Like I'm going to be awake for 1 more hour. My fiance is like sleeping here. She hasn't left me yet for some reason. I don't know. Mike is coming all the way from United States, like continental United States, to my wedding just to apologize.
Yeah, I'm starting my relationship with your wife, on a really nice foot. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Wow, that was amazing.
That was awesome.
He is amazing.
Basically, he just gave us the.
He's amazing. Do you remember when there was that missile that went into Poland?
Yeah.
And it was the question: did Russia strike Poland, or was it a Ukrainian interceptor? And there was a report that came out saying that a Western intelligence official had said it was a Russian missile, and he immediately said he looked at the picture of the engine. There was a picture of the burnt wreckage of the engine, and he immediately said, "No, this is a." He did it like an intelligence analyst. He said, "There's an 85% probability that this is a Ukrainian interceptor." He said there is one possibility that it's a Russian missile, but in that case it has to have been fired because of the distances from Belarus, and we don't have any information that the Russians have these missiles in Belarus, so it's really probably the Ukrainian. And he did that just from looking at the records. I don't know anyone else who knows who knows the all of the technical details to that level.
So rocket engines.
He was saying how many missiles could they fuel with 360 tons of fuel?
He said high double digits, I thought.
Yeah. So what ChatGPT gave me is short-range ballistic missiles could be between 60 and 90 missiles fueled by those 3 flights from China.
Yeah.
But it's the medium ranges are the ones that are doing the real damage on the Israelis.
Right. It says 24 to 36, but of course then he made the point they can reduce the warhead yield so they can get more flight time, really play with it.
Does it surprise you that this story got missed by so many people, given all the implications that there are for that?
I mean, people were making jokes about the
Literally
UAE
flew
flight.
under the radar.
Well, there's that. Let me pull that one back up so I can grab it. This image of the single UAE flight going over Iran that everybody was sharing. Nobody thought to share the one of the 3 Chinese cargo planes going into Iran and then taking off and going to Europe. Now, the question is, why would they allow them to then come into Europe? That's a crazy thing. I mean, I guess what do? China's supplying Iran with something.
Did they go to Europe? They said they were going to go to Luxembourg, but then they never showed up.
Is that what it said?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
They just they faked Luxembourg.
I thought it said.
Meaning that the plane is still there,
No,
or that it just veered, it turned around.
It just went, instead of going to Luxembourg, it went to Iran.
Is that?
I think that's what it said.
Flight plans indicated a final destination of Luxembourg, but the aircraft appeared to have never flown near European skies. Oh, okay. I was assuming that meant past tense.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, I mean-
they had never been to Europe before. I see what it's actually saying.
Yeah,
My mistake.
I don't know if like flight plans tell you the route that they intend to take. Like, I don't know if they generally would say we're going to Luxembourg via, Tehran, but
I didn't realize these things could carry 120 tons.
they're big.
Yeah, that's 747s.
Yeah.
Yo, that's wild. So they say Cargo Lux, the Luxembourg-based company that operated the planes, said its flights did not utilize Iranian airspace, but the firm did not respond to questions about what they were carrying. Cargo manifests are not considered a matter of public record, and though any dangerous goods or special loads have to be declared to the operator and handling agents, information provided could be inaccurate or misleading. China has tried before to send weapons disguised as commercial goods, labeling drone components as wind turbine parts, according to shipments intercepted by European authorities.
Technically, they are wind turbines.
Indeed.
It does raise an interesting question about what China will do. Let's say things get really desperate for the Iranians. What will China do? I don't think it'll intervene militarily, but will it take some kind of steps to bolster the Iranians? I don't know. I don't know what those would be.
It said that Iran was their largest energy provider, right?
2 million barrels per day.
Who is their second largest?
Let's pull a list.
Probably Saudi Arabia.
Like that's because then the question is like, what would you do to protect the number one source of energy for your country, right?
It's as much a strategic relationship as it is an economic. They benefit from the fact that Iran gives them oil at very cheap prices, but it also helps them because Iran is the most disruptive actor in the region, and the United States has no influence over it. So if anyone in the region, if our allies want help with Iran, they're inclined to go to Beijing.
Does it say?
This doesn't say that Iran is their biggest. It says Saudi Aramco.
Saudi Arabia.
Rosneft, Russia. It makes sense that Russia would be a bigger energy provider because they just call it a cold. The foreign policy guys call Russia like a cold gas station.
Yeah.
That's what they sell. They sell energy.
That's their whole
ExxonMobil provides a lot to China as well. Shell, Woodside Energy. Yeah, I don't know. This said Iran is one of their top energy partners, one of their key energy suppliers, whatever that means.
They buy from everybody.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder how much of a threat a fractured and shattered Iran would be to the region, though, and how much China is concerned about it.
Concerned, very concerned. The big if Iran were to fracture, of course they'd lose an ally because they have China. It's China, Russia, Iran, North Korea against us and our allies. But if Iran were to actually fracture, I think the big winner in the game will be Turkey, because the one third of all Iranians are Turks.
Interesting.
And so it will change the the ethnic composition of Iran. It could actually break it up, but more than likely, I think there would just be an Iran that had a more Turkic flavor to it.
People need to
And that
understand the region, and a lot of people don't even know where Iraq and Afghanistan are, but you can see Iran borders Turkey. So,
and the whole northeast quadrant of Iran is Turkish speaking, Azerbaijani Turkish speaking.
very interesting.
So Turkey and Azerbaijan are allies.
And there's Kurds up there. Don't forget about the
There's
Kurds.
There's Kurds there too, but the overwhelming population the Kurds are down a little bit, closer toward the Iraq. Up in the northeast quadrant, it's overwhelmingly Azerbaijani Turks, and Turkey and Azerbaijan are allies. So you'd have a Turkic population in Iran that would have strong allies right across the border that could help them out. So
Yeah.
that's gonna happen, I think, anyway, one way or another. I don't mean that Iran is gonna crack up. I mean the ethnic mix in Iran is gonna shift, and it's gonna shift to the advantage of the Turks.
You know, it's such a strange coincidence how, Iraq and Afghanistan, these two countries we just had to invade, just so happened to surround Iran.
They did.
But you say it like that. When we went into Iraq and Afghanistan, we took out the enemies of the Iranians.
Yeah.
Saddam Hussein and the Taliban were both hostile to Iran.
But as far as Iran's concerned, they were just replaced by someone else hostile to Iran.
Yes.
So I'm not sure the equation was made better.
No, that's the way some of them saw it, but I think that they found this pretty easy to play.
Yeah.
The
I know
Iranians?
that
The Iranians?
Yeah, that's how I see it. I think that this is the toughest we've ever been with Iran, and it's not us. I mean, the other day, Donald Trump said, or yesterday, that I control, or we control the skies over Iran, but we're not doing that. The Israelis are.
Ted Cruz said we're striking Iran.
People are saying it's
Yeah.
a Freudian slip.
Yeah.
Or the royal we.
Yeah.
It's our allies that
a-
are engaged
yeah,
in this
it's
with our interests.
It's
and-
our alliance, and
Yeah. That
How
Ted
harmful
Cruz
is that
interview.
to Trump at home now, with polling saying that people are that CNN reporting that people are in support of what he's doing, and then maybe I'm just kind of fractured and living online, but the anti-war right has a problem with this, and it's causing problems. It's causing discontent.
So, in my opinion, there's a significant sliver of the anti-war and anti-Israel right that don't want Trump to do any of this. The majority of people that would consider Israel an ally, they're fine as long as the U.S. doesn't actually invade.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's where we're at now.
Yeah, airstrike. They're mostly fine with airstrikes, if I understand correctly, and this is from the polls that I've seen. But they don't want to see Americans on the ground, and I think that just so long as we don't end up with a situation of Americans on the ground fighting in Iran, I think that this will be a total non-issue, just so long as it doesn't turn into the U.S. trying to go in and change the
I totally agree with you,
yeah.
100%.
Do you think they end up with boots on the ground?
No.
No, because that.
Although no, go ahead.
No, I'm far more interested in what you've got to say, and so viewers.
You said they, you mean Americans?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. But there's a significant chance that the Israelis will go in. If Trump decides not to, it's one of the reasons why I think Trump will decide to bomb, because if the Israelis are gonna destroy Fordo, and if we don't destroy it with the bunker busters, then they have to go in on the ground. But then that creates dynamics that could end up being more destabilizing than if we just went in with the bunker busters.
So we're going to have planes over Iran, like American planes.
Yeah.
And if an American plane gets shot down, is that perceived differently then?
In the eyes of
in the eyes of the American people, does that change things entirely? If an American plane gets brought down, are they going to look at it differently than if we were to send boots on the ground?
yeah, I think so. Don't you?
Yeah, I do. I'm just curious about it because like I can only go through like what my what it looks like reflected back at me, and most of the people that I interact with are kind of given the platform that Trump ran on, no wars in his first term, peace through diplomacy, foreign policy through diplomacy, and what you're seeing right now. One of the questions that I had was like, would he have handled this differently if he was in a first term and seeking a second term?
Remember in his first term when he struck Soleimani and he said to take out ISIS. So those are two things that really kind of cast him as credible when he makes a use of force threat. And I think that this particular issue, he will in the future use this as the evidence that he's willing to use. He's still willing to use force, and because of how powerful the United States military is, that threat comes with real danger. But I think that he will not. He'll still try to avoid using force, and he's going to use this as his quote unquote trump card to be like, you don't know, maybe I will. I'm crazy like that.
It's a credibility enhancer if he does it.
Yeah. So
let's jump to the story from the AP. Pentagon senior advisor Dan Caldwell ousted during investigation into leaks. This is crazy. Oh, wait, this is an old story. How did we get this into the mix? I don't know. This is an old story. Let's jump to the next story. I don't know. Someone put that in the mix, and then I read it. I'm basically Ron Burgundy. I'll read whatever's in the prompter. We got the story from Times Now News. J.D. Vance was suspended minutes after joining Blue Sky. Here's why. They say Vice President J.D. Vance's Blue Sky account was suspended within minutes of him joining the platform. His posts criticized medical treatments for trans youth and claimed pharmaceutical influence over healthcare decisions. His account has now been reinstated. So this is actually pretty fascinating. J.D. Vance tweeted this out. Let me see if I can pull up his tweets on the matter. His X post on the Blue Sky. He wrote, "Hello, Blue Sky. I've been told this app has become the place to go for common sense political discussion and analysis, so I'm thrilled to be here to engage with all of you." He then posted a series of posts. To that end, I found Justice Thomas's concurrence on the medical care for transgender youth quite illuminating. He argues that many of our so-called experts have used bad arguments and substandard science to push experimental therapies on our youth. I might add that many of those scientists are receiving substantial resources from Big Pharma to push these medicines on kids. What do you think? And
banned.
They blocked him.
Well,
after the story went viral, they brought him back. But what's funny is that Blue Sky was supposed to be. I remember talking to Jack Dorsey personally about this. He was like, "Look, we're going to make this Blue Sky crypto blockchain thing. That way, everybody will be able to speak freely." And now it is the most violent and censorious platform that exists. It is a literal hive of scum and villainy.
Twitter 2018, like trapped in a time loop. On a separate app.
Empowered to police each other and themselves.
And it was that way almost instantly. From the moment it went live, it was that way. Especially once the election happened, it got way worse.
Yeah, people were getting suspended immediately for saying, not particularly racy stuff at all.
Well, and then a lot of the people, like a lot of celebrities, will end up they'll make a big show of leaving X and going over to Blue Sky, and then they come back to X, because you can't actually have a discussion on Blue Sky with anyone.
One of my favorite things about that is when they have their name on X is blah 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 at Blue Sky, B Sky, blah blah blah, and it's like they're making sure that I also have a Blue Sky account. Not that anyone on X is going to go to Blue Sky to find them. The people on Blue Sky that are interested in what they have to say are probably already following them. But yeah, I love the fact that they're just like, I'm on Blue Sky and you should follow me there, and everyone on X is like, no, that place is horrible.
It's a great place to go to mine content when people are angry at stuff. If you do work like we do, it's a fantastic platform.
It is the literal salt mines where you go to mine salt. You know?
Reminded me of Tumblr, almost exactly like Tumblr.
Yes, absolutely.
That's where it all went wrong. Tumblr.
Just like every conservative attempt at making some alternative Twitter, it just didn't work.
Yeah.
That's why Elon just bought it.
Yeah. Not everybody has that option, right? Like,
yeah. But I think what we end up seeing from platforms like Blue Sky is that that's a cult.
Remember, Blue Sky ran Jack off because Jack Dorsey. That didn't mean to come out.
Because he had his like mini libertarian phase for a while.
Yeah,
for a
and
while
he went.
there.
He was thinking that he was like, "Oh, Blue Sky is going to be like this, blah blah blah," and they literally ran him off. They're like, "Get out of here, Jack Dorsey! You're a Nazi."
Proves that he doesn't understand the people that he courted all that well.
I mean, maybe he just thinks that he's got magical powers or something. He can. This time it'll work.
He does kind of have that look about him.
Just throw apps at it. Throw apps at it until one finally sticks it without turning into a police.
Is this held in the same regard of like that you can't ban a public official on X? Wasn't that a thing for a while? Like you can't ban the profile of a public official because the public has the right to
you can ban
engage with them. You can still ban them?
Yep.
Like I thought that they banned Trump because he was no longer in office.
No, it was a big issue when Laura Loomer was running for office and they banned her on all these platforms. And it's like you're giving free airtime to her political rival while blocking. That's crazy that these companies are doing that.
Yep.
Blue Sky invites it, I guess.
I mean, a lot of people have kind of fallen by the wayside on that because it seems like the tech bros have kind of tried to cozy up to the right since Trump came back to office, right? But it doesn't mean that, next election cycle comes around and they lose, that they won't go right back to the way they were before.
Yeah, I suppose the bigger question is, how do you break people out of the cult?
As like you yourself, like how do you as a person do it to somebody else? I've never
Rhetorical you and you personally, Brett Dasovic.
It's always to me been the thing. You have to do it yourself. Like you cannot be led to that information by yourself because when somebody leads you to that information, your hackles are up and somebody's already, especially if you're trying to tell them that something they've believed for any length of time is wrong, they're automatically going to be combative with you. The best thing that a person can do is go seek new information on their own. But most people don't go and do that. I would argue that most people that shift politically probably get there because maybe somebody showed them one thing one time and they didn't think much of it, but they went on that journey themselves and they had to get to that information themselves. They couldn't be led there by another person. It feels like a fool's errand to try.
I think this characteristic is largely what defines what we would call the left or liberals, in that they're not looking for stats. They're not trying to figure out what's actually going on. They tend just to agree with whatever the other part of the crowd agrees with. And so you end up with violent echo chambers that ban the vice president when he cordially and politely brought up a major Supreme Court ruling.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the same thing comes true when you go look at the protests and stuff like that. Call and response, you're not allowed to actually go and have a discussion with them because they understand that most of the time their arguments fall flat when you try to engage with someone honestly and you have a different viewpoint.
Yo, it is wild. The protests I've been to, you walk up, like I'm at one of these protests and these people have no idea. This is years ago. Let's go back 10 years. You walk up to some guy and you'll just say, "Hey man, how's it going?" And he'll be like, "Sup?" And he'll be like, "Can I ask you some questions?" Someone will immediately run up to you and go, No, stop talking. And I was in San Bernardino and there were Trump supporters on one side and Antifa and far left on the other. And I walked over to the far left side and people were standing around and I was like, "Hey, how's it going? You guys want to tell me what the protest is about?" Immediately a woman ran up and started chanting, "Mic check, mic check."
Yeah, exactly.
And they all start, they want to make sure you cannot get information to them.
Yeah.
That mic check stuff is insane.
Yeah.
How they just sit there and just start repeating the things that each other, it's craziness.
So, what is your answer to your question?
How do you break people from the cult?
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a classically liberal or traditionally liberal way to do it. Perhaps, I don't know. I don't know if there's a way.
Isn't that your mission here?
I mean, largely the mission is just to kind of break down what's going on in the world and try and discuss it with the most accuracy possible and then our opinions on the matter.
The internet as it is right now, it's like everything is so algorithmically programmed that the people that want this information are going to find it, and the people that want a different set of information, albeit maybe less accurate, are going to go find it wherever they go because their computer, their phone is telling them this is what you like looking at, so it's going to feed you more of the same thing.
There's no good answer. I mean, I can say, based on the facts of the case, it is clear. Whatever it is that is our side, the moderate to like right-leaning side, has a bias in reality. Reality has a right-wing bias, as I would describe it, and the left does not. The problem is both sides are saying the exact same thing. The left says people on the right are lying and making things up, and it's all fake news and it's a cult. And then we are saying quite similarly about them. The fact is, we are correct, however. And the easiest way to break that down is the right is a disparate hodgepodge group of random ideologies.
Well, look at what's going on right now with Iran and Israel. There's people on all sides of the right arguing about what's going on and whether it's the right thing to do. And
the cultists are trying to discredit the anti-war side, which is the weirdest thing. So 2 great examples. Jon Stewart mocked Steve Bannon, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Jack Posobiec, and Charlie Kirk, who are all anti-intervention with the war in Iran. Why? Jon Stewart says, well, credit where credit is due. You know, we shouldn't engage in these protracted quagmires in the Middle East. But hold on there. And then mocked and belittled them.
Right.
That serves only to reinforce the psychological drive of the cult. These people are bad. Don't listen to them. Then Jon Stewart comes out and goes, you know, I don't like war, but if you actually were listening to, say, Jack Posobiec, he's going to, or Steve Bannon is a better example. He's going to be like, no war, no, 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 never. Jon Stewart will say, no war, no war. Wait a minute, what's that? They attacked who? Well, now we have no choice. Sam Cedar is another example. He made a video attacking me, calling my anti-intervention stance a grift. For what purpose? There are people who are Trump supporters who were tweeting up no new wars under Trump, vote for Trump. And now that Trump is talking about a strike in Iran, they're saying, I trust my president. And it's like, go after the hypocrites.
yeah.
But the point is discredit. So they're not, I think the issue largely is that these liberals, they're very pro-war. And like we saw in the 2000s, the goal of the media narrative will be to convince people why war is necessary, if that's going to be the plan of the United States. So attack anybody who is staunchly opposed to it, and then play the moderate voice that reluctantly says, I guess we have to go to war.
What do you think where's the source of the power of what you're calling the cultists? So it seems to me that it's more than just control of the internet. There's a whole ecosystem and an economic system built around it. Starting with the universities. I have my own view. I mean, I would say that what we're up against is progressivism. It's an ideology.
Yeah.
And even a theology.
Yeah.
But not everyone's going to see the theology, so let's just call it an ideology. But it's the entire ideology of all the universities. Big business has gone in for it, not because it's really sincere about it, but because it thinks they figure that they won't, that the right will be with them automatically, and they can buy the left with some wokeness.
Well, yeah, they did that after Occupy Wall Street. They had to shift their business model, what they call rainbow capitalism.
Right. Yeah, they shift their business model, and they thought there would be nothing to pay for that. The conservatives would never hold them account for that. But so, if you want to break the cult, it has to be more than just an informational effort, right? There has to be an economic effort as well. I'm asking.
So where do you believe the power is?
Well, so look at it this way. If you were to take all of the political factions, put them in a big circle, you get a yin-yang. There's light and there's dark, and within lightness there is darkness. When darkness there is light. The power base of the liberal structures, it's an amorphous group of individuals, and it's a murmuration. By moving together, they become a powerful force, similarly to what the right is, but the right is a bit more disparate. On the right, you have nodes of different ideologies that have moved together because of the insanity of the left. They've actually cost themselves a good amount of their political power. Right now, what we're seeing is Democrats staging arrests, like intentionally trying to get arrested because they have no policies to campaign on, so they just attack cops.
Yeah.
We've seen this 3 times now. 3 times now. Democrats have attacked cops getting arrested. And I think what happened was the first ICE arrests we saw with McIver and Baraka, this was an accident. They got into a fight with cops, got arrested, saw something and said, hey.
That worked?
Yeah.
Then Padilla says, I'm going to play. He charges in, screaming, gets thrown to the ground. Then you get, Lander?
Yeah.
In New York. He's like, let's go. And Trump won't charge them. I think that's a large component of the problem. The Trump DOJ did go after McIver, but as my understanding right now, I could be wrong, they're not charging Padilla and they're not charging Lander. They dropped the charges.
Of course not.
They need to go after him. Just throw the book at him. So one of the issues I would say right now is there are a lot of personalities on social media that produce fake news intentionally. This has been the case for some time. There was a period during the first Trump cycle where there were websites that were literally writing fake news. These were not Trump supporters, but they were trying to manipulate Trump supporters to get clicks, largely boomers. And they would write, one story that went really viral, I remember, was ambulance blocked by far left protesters on highway, woman dies. And it was two guys that were in, I think, like Tempe, that would just make up fake stories, put them on their website, post them to Facebook, and then get millions of views because it was confirmation bias. And Facebook eventually shut this down and said, you can't do this. The issue is YouTube never did. YouTube has shut down some stuff, but largely what we've seen from the left is they just adapted to how they do the fake news. So now you have people on YouTube that will produce to hundreds of thousands of views fake news by pulling Trump out of context. Daily Show is a great example. They actually, in their criticism of Bannon, connected two different sentences before they were completed and cut them together to make a fake statement from Bannon.
That's unreal.
So that they could, it was nuts because Bannon didn't say the thing they claimed he said. They made a fake quote up. And this is going to be on YouTube, and it's going to get hundreds of thousands of views, and YouTube lets it happen. Well, here's the question. Should YouTube be in the game of taking those things down? That's tough. Because if you say that YouTube should have the power to censor what they think is fake news, they will just start getting rid of people on the right as they were doing before. Yeah. Then what's the other response? Should the right just do the same thing the left is doing? Welcome to hell, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, wouldn't the proper course of action there be for Bannon to sue?
You can't sue for it.
He can't sue for it.
So the issue is they're a comedy show that no one would expect to believe is true. Now, what The Daily Show and other shows like it do is they masquerade as mocking the truth. They say the facts are correct and now we're going to insult them for it. That's what the average person thinks it is. What it actually is we've fabricated a set of events that we can make fun of for your entertainment. But most people don't realize that. My idea is we're working on a project. We're just going to make fake videos of Jon Stewart and other liberals saying really off-putting things because it's comedy. Yeah. And we're going to call it Comedy Sketch News. And we're going to show videos of them saying it, and it's going to be funny. Now, here's the issue. I was talking to my team, and I was like, let's make a video where, Jon Stewart, we'll use AI, and we'll make it look as real as we can, and then we'll call it Comedy Sketch News. You can tell it's comedy. And then I will say, I can't believe Jon Stewart would say something so off-putting and offensive and honestly gross. Can you believe it? I don't think anyone could believe it. But there's the video. Obviously, the implication being, it's real. But I literally said I could not believe that it was real. You can't sue me, right? But what happens then? If we put a video like that out, someone will clip out the fake video of Jon Stewart, put it on X, put it on Instagram, and there you go. Jon Stewart just said whatever it was. And it'll be permanent and forever. That's what The Daily Show does to all of us and everybody else. But no one on the right wants to do it to them. Nobody. And so you wonder why it is the left believes psychotic nonsense. This is the world they live in. In fact, I've got proof. Let's jump to this beautiful tweet from crazy Eric Swalwell.
Oh, God.
Trump's America. For those just tuning in, I was just explaining how the left media is basically fiction. We were talking about it yesterday that liberals base their view of reality on movies and TV shows. A great example is what liberals think suppressors do.
Yeah.
They think you get a suppressor and it goes pew, 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 pew. Yeah, no, anybody who's fired a gun knows it certainly does not do that. What happens? They ban them. They put them on the NFA. Take a look at this video that Eric Swalwell posted of Trump's America.
I had a really good time today.
Yeah, me too. I really look.
What are you doing? She's coming with us.
What are you talking about? Who are you?
I'm your Republican congressman. Now that we're in charge, we're rounding up illegals.
She was born here. She's a citizen.
I don't care. She looks like one of them. But don't worry. When she's in prison in El Salvador, she'll have lots of company.
Is the implication that he's going to rape her? when he like leans
Yeah.
up to her face and says that.
Yeah, that's probably what it is.
And then says, the homegrowns are next. Donald Trump, April 14th, 2025. This is the psychotic and deranged world liberals live in because they can't tell the difference between, and not all, obviously, the pundits are going to be like, of course we know it's a skit, it's to make a point. But many of the older liberals, people I know, think this is real. They like the example that I love to use, Hassan Piker did not know that Abrego Garcia was from El Salvador. This is a guy who's got one of the top streams in the world who genuinely thought Trump arrested an American citizen and sent him to El Salvador. And that's what they say in this video. How do you break this so that liberals stop getting fed these lies?
You can't in that situation. Like the funniest thing about that one is like you have to actually show them side by side the amount of headlines that suspiciously use the phrase Maryland man, which makes no sense. It's like when you would look at the
it's construction worker now.
Yes, it's like when you look at the videos that were made by news networks during COVID, which were all saying literally the exact same thing on their nightly news broadcasts. And that's when you're trying to explain to them what corporate press is like, what these group chats with all of these producers are like, to make sure that everybody falls in line. That's a level of like taking ownership of your own life experience and how you get information that is unique to somebody who actually cares about these things beyond just the idea that that they're right and that the other side is evil. You have to approach it from the side of actually wanting to get information because you think it affects you in the world, which would lead you down a path to the idea that some things that you believe or that you've been told are wrong. But that means it's a lot of work. And for the most part, what you were saying earlier, like where does the power come from? I think when the average everyday American is busy and they've got stuff to do, they for decades have been trained to believe that the talking head on television, the guy wearing the suit, is going to tell them the accurate information because that's a trust in the institutions that's been instilled in them since they were young. That's why the boomers are more likely to fall for that stuff now than younger generations who are out seeking their information elsewhere. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't fall victim to it as well in the age of TikTok, but it does mean that one generation specifically is more prone to that. And like you mentioned earlier, the colleges, the institutions, it's been reinforced to them at every level. But there is a sense that you have to be kind of your own arbiter for how to get your information that I think precludes a lot of what's going on in the left.
The right doesn't make videos like this. Conservatives have traditionally insulted and mocked artists.
Yeah.
And it's only recently they've kind of chilled out on doing this and then started to actually come up in this space. Daily Wire did a pretty good job. I don't know if they're going to continue it. Angel Studios does a really great job with their films.
Daily Wire's not going to continue it?
Well, I don't know if they are.
They're making the movies and
it seems like there's a big shakeup over the Daily Wire, and so they've changed things around. I don't know if
it's a hard path to continue because I tend to be critical of those types of projects because as left-leaning as most artists in Hollywood are, they start from, at least it used to be the case, that they started from a place of being an artist first and then their views kind of trickled into the art that they were making. Whereas when the right tries to make art simply for the sake of making the political opposite, it rarely turns out well.
Yeah, right-wing art is consciously right-wing art is not very good art.
And I'm not talking about Tolkien. I'm not talking about Lord of the Rings. I'm talking about the stuff that is made now.
I guess to be fair, it's all right-wing art these days. Harry Potter is right-wing. Tolkien is right-wing.
Well, I mean,
anything that has winners and losers in it is right-wing. Anything that has hierarchy that's not, smashed is right-wing. I mean, literally everything nowadays is right-wing except for like
I don't know. I just saw Joe Biden
films.
Hanging out with Alan Richson from Reacher.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he showed up on. It looked like a photo where like Biden wandered onto the set. Like he looks completely clueless as to what's going on in Hunter Biden.
He's going to be in season 3 of Reacher?
Season 4. I don't think he'll show up. That'd be hilarious if he did.
They're filming season 4?
Yes.
Season 3 is out?
Season 3 is out.
Really?
Like 6 months ago.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I didn't even see season 2.
Yeah. Season 1's the best of them.
Oh, okay. That's probably why.
You guys don't feel that things got better since the Trump election? And since,
yeah.
Since
absolutely.
Elon Musk took over X?
It's definitely got better. I mean, people need to recognize just how much better things have gotten. I think it's important not to always be so black-pilled, but the gender issue has largely inverted.
Yeah.
Retard is back. Yeah.
Hey, look, it is a useful word. It has a meaning totally separate from any kind of insult, and it is a useful
Well,
word.
it's market. It's competition. When Elon bought X and bought Twitter, turned it into X, and said we're going to bring back a bunch of people, he changed the threshold. So what had happened was everybody was racing to the bottom. If you were on Facebook and you said a naughty word, you'd get banned. YouTube would then freak out and be like, well, we don't want to host a person saying naughty words, so we'll ban him too. Elon said, I'll bring him back. Then creators started saying, I guess I'm going to focus my efforts on X, where I can build a following and maintain my business. Other networks then said, wait, don't leave. So I wonder about YouTube in this regard, because Rumble has actually done a big jab at YouTube. Rumble has several of the top 10. I think when it comes to news, Rumble's got all of them. Let me check, actually. Let's do our latest update.
As in the biggest news shows?
Live streams.
Yeah.
Yeah, so right now in the top 10, Rumble has 2 of the top 10 live streams in the country of all streams. That's Timcast IRL and Steven Crowder. And then in the top 25, they've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 of the top 25 are Rumble. But if we do news, let's go to news. Rumble's got in the top 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 60% of the top of the biggest live streams in news in the U.S. are on Rumble. That is because YouTube intentionally banned news channels for a long time. If you're talking news, you were out. They intentionally prop up things that are not news. And the worst thing is, this is where I say, like, we're in trouble. I think Miss Rachel is one of the most demonic, evil things on the internet. Coco Melon as well. And YouTube doesn't care. Humans are incredibly susceptible to gutting ourselves and destroying ourselves with this psychotic content.
I'm an old man. I don't know what Coco Melon and Rachel are.
So Miss Rachel's a really great example. I think she is absolutely, and this is professional. I don't know her personally. Personally, she could be very nice. Professionally, I think she should delete her channel and she should stop doing what she's doing. It's disgusting. She makes videos where the thumbnail will have like a minute count in the top right. It'll say like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour. Parents then take an iPad, say, I got to do 40 minutes to do the laundry. They'll find a video, hit it, put it in front of their baby, and leave. It is demonic. It is going to fry the brains of these kids. It is frying their brains, and it is terrifying. She doesn't care. She's a millionaire. She makes tons of money. She's going to keep justifying what she does. Coco Melon is not too different. Parents turn on these tablets, put it in front of their baby, and leave, and they don't understand. They don't get it. The system that we are building with social media is going to create a generation of retards.
Broken children.
Yep.
I drugged my kids until they were 18. It didn't seem to harm them, really. They're doing fine.
How old are they now?
21 and 25.
I would.
I'm sorry, 22 and 25. I'm going to get in trouble for that.
I would partially, but you mean like medicated with like ADHD meds or stuff like that, or like doctor prescribed?
Yeah, Johnny Walker.
You gave your kids booze when they were children. The thing is, I would say that when you look at the generational trends, I think it's pretty obvious to see the negative impacts of everything that the millennials were given as children. And so I'm not going to have any of that for my daughter. And you take a look now at what's going on with the algorithms, and I think it is going to be, in the next 10 or 15 years, mark my words, clip this segment right now, take it, post it, store it, and just wait. 2018 was ElsaGate 1. Okay, that's 7 years ago. Give it 11 more years, and you are going to see the most psychotic generation imaginable. Children who in their most important formative years were not watching adults fix cars or pick up the laundry.
Right.
They were watching Spider-Man inject pregnant Elsa with a syringe
Good grief.
for hours a day as babies.
Right.
The ElsaGate stuff wasn't just Elsa running around getting stabbed by Joker with Spider-Man. It devolved into children eating feces and drinking out of urinals and other grotesque things. There were Peppa Pig videos of Peppa Pig getting run over by cars and mutilated and then eaten. Just psychotic, deranged things. And this was around 2018 on YouTube. And they said, whoa, okay, this algorithmically generated stuff being fed to kids is bad. Take out the weird gore and the eating of feces, and now it's fine, which it's not. Parents were putting tablets in front of their kids and pressing play, and YouTube would start with something like a nursery rhyme, but then autoplay would eventually bring them to Peppa Pig eating feces. And their babies are watching this. 2-year-olds are watching this. The 2-year-olds would mash the screen, and all the comments were gibberish. People started to realize this is babies just smacking the iPad. YouTube said, wait. As long as it's not weird, it's fine to fry their brains. So YouTube actually promotes and allows this to the tunes of hundreds of millions of views. 10 years from now, 20 years from now, we are going to have a generation. And let me tell you this. We're already seeing the effects. You combine this with the COVID lockdowns. We've got kids who are like 9 years old who can't read.
Right. And having their most consistent conversations with AI now.
Yep.
And drawing actual emotional responses from people when they can't have those conversations with real humans.
You know who won't have this problem? China.
Nope.
My hope is that as Gen Z grows up and, is once they have, I guess they're having kids now, but the point being that growing up with technology the way they have is that they are more acutely aware of how much damage it can do. And the hope would be that when they start having kids, that they do not let their kids have access to
I think that's Gen Z.
What do you mean?
Gen Z, when these things were coming into fruition, Gen Z was of the age to recognize how insane it was. Gen Alpha was not. So what we're seeing now is Gen Z turning away from this, becoming more religious.
That's what I mean. Like when Gen
but Gen Alpha is going to be a bunch of
kids,
lunatics.
Yeah, the hope would be that the generation after those generation betas are going to have to hopefully.
It's Bravo.
Yeah. Well, are they changing it?
No, it was
no, it was literally beta. Was it? Yeah, pretty sure it was.
Bravo. Let's find out.
Was it the
Generation Bravo?
Oh. I think.
Oh, okay, you're right. It's an alternative to Generation Beta.
Yeah, see, they didn't want to get stuck with the label.
Yeah, nobody wants to be beta.
Well, the thing is, by the time they're old enough to understand it, that term won't be in fashion anymore.
It's so dumb because they mean the same thing.
Yeah,
beta turned into a bad thing because you're a beta.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. It was
the funny thing is, anybody who knows about the social hierarchy of males knows that beta was actually a positive thing. The idea was that the alpha is the leader, the betas are the lieutenants, and then you have beneath that, the delta, which is the average run-of-the-mill guy. And it was the gamma and omega males that were considered the creepy incel losers. But now beta just means incel loser, I guess.
It's weird because if you're delta in America, you're one of the most dangerous people in the world.
Indeed. Let's jump to the story from CNN. Supreme Court upholds Tennessee's ban on gender-affirming care for trans youths. This is what J.D. Vance was talking about when he got banned temporarily from Blue Sky.
That's insane.
They say the 6-3 decision by a conservative majority is a major blow to the transgender community and its advocates at a critical time. Since 2020, Republican-led states around the country have passed a wave of laws regulating the lives of trans Americans with a particular focus on minors. And President Trump, who ran for re-election in part by ending the transgender lunacy, has taken several steps intended to roll back gains made by that community. So they say roughly half the states have similar bans. I believe this is the first step, maybe not the first, but we are very close to a nationwide ban. I think it's entirely possible that the Supreme Court could ban it outright. No more mutilation of children.
I like that. The idea that we have to continue to make believe that this is possible while they're literally ruining the lives of children is insane. There is no such thing as a trans child. I don't care what anyone says. This is absolute insanity, and the Supreme Court got this right. The fact that there were 3 justices that were on the wrong side of this shows how useless they are as justices. Yeah, that's about all I got on this.
So in this context, I want to explain to you what transgender is while stepping out of the political space. I'd like to pull this up here. This is r/reality shifting. Serge just said, oh no. Reality shifting is a community of people online who believe they have the ability to transport their consciousness into an alternate reality. The things they believe get dangerous. In one of the posts on Reddit, they say, when you die in your current reality, don't worry. You don't die. Your consciousness will just shift to another reality.
The TikToks on this are crazy.
And they're going massively viral. So reality shifting TikToks are where they're more viral, of course.
Yep.
And you may be saying, well, what does that have to do with transgender? Let me explain. Obviously, nobody can transport their consciousness to another reality. Maybe if we first discover that parallel realities exist through science, and then build a machine where you can literally do it, maybe that's possible. But the idea that you can lock yourself in a closet, close your eyes, and go, it's going to send you to a faraway universe, that's called imagination, not reality shifting. So what happens is 15-year-olds go online. They hate their life. They hate school. They're going through puberty. They're awkward, whatever it may be, depressed, angry. And they say, why does my life suck? Well, guess what? Someone's got the answer for you. Mm-hmm. And it is that you're in the wrong reality. Did you know this? You are trapped in the wrong reality. You need only close your eyes and focus and believe the things we tell you, and you can shift into the correct reality. Your trans reality, unfortunately. Yeah. That's right. Now, this sounds insane, and we can tell it's insane. The gender thing is no different. The only problem, liberals have adopted it as if it were true.
Yep.
We are only a few years away from stuff like this being entered into legislation where you end up with CNN saying President Vance is opposed to reality shifters and reality shifting care. We are years away, if this is the trend, where doctors providing reality shifting care will bring you to a hospital bed and put you in an induced coma so you can transport to your desired reality, like in the show The OA.
Canada will do this for you.
Yeah, they'll just kill you.
Yes.
Can't.
Made.
So this is actually,
Raid.
this is the premise of The OA, right? Like you die and then you transport to an alternate reality. And so people think, and this is literally a TV show that children think are real, think is real. And there's even talk of self-harm in this because it transports you to another reality. The way they describe it is psychotic. They say things like, when you close your eyes, you can temporarily enter first you go into the void state where you're in blackness, and then you'll emerge in a desired reality only temporarily as a dream walker.
You be lying.
Unless you die. That's what they think. Now, again, the point is, trans is the same. A teenager who's awkward, who feels depressed, is weird, goes on the internet and they say, maybe you're a girl. And the young little boy's like, what is that? And like, transgender. Look. What we learned we had Helena Kirshner on the show. She said what happened was she goes on, I think it was Tumblr, and she was angsty and depressed, and someone commented, maybe it's because you're trans, just abruptly for no reason.
Yeah.
And she was like, what is that? They explained it to her. And they said, look, don't take my word for it. Why don't you just like put on some boyish clothes right now? No big deal. Take a picture and see how you feel. So she went, okay. And she put on jeans and a t-shirt, took a picture, posted it. And they said, you look so cool. Wow. That is the coolest thing ever. You're amazing. So beautiful. Now, how do you feel? And she went, I feel really good. Because they were love bombing her.
Right.
And then said, see, it's because you're trans. Why don't you cut your hair short? See how you feel then. She goes, okay. Cuts her hair short. Posts a picture.
Oh, you look so good.
You're so, oh man, you're beautiful. You're amazing. We love you. And she goes, wow. And they go, how do you feel now? She goes, I feel really good. They're like, yep, you're trans. That's proof. She said she went to Planned Parenthood. In 15 minutes, they gave her the maximum dose of testosterone. Yep. This is where society is going. Best of luck. This is why I was saying, Miss Rachel and Coco Melon, it's other kid stuff on the internet is no different. It's the same detached from reality psychobabble garbage. And kids are going to attach their brains to it, and they're not going to function properly.
Yeah, and not only that, like when it comes to at least Miss Rachel, like she started jumping into politics as well, and you know it's bad enough that it's not really all that nourishing content for kids in the first place, but then to be shoving into it political opinions for whatever, toddlers or something. Yeah, no thanks. I don't want my kid watching that stuff.
I want to say a few things, but I don't because I have friends who have transgender.
Not anymore. You don't. Not anymore. No. You don't. Not after tonight.
That's it. No, but it's. How can I say this without insulting? I mean, there's no way I can not insult them, but it really amazed me, and I still don't understand it. How anybody my age, I just doesn't believe any of this stuff. Let's see, the vast majority don't believe, and yet they do. Like, I have friends who have supported their children in this. I'm talking about children who are over the age of 18, and they clearly were uncomfortable with it, but felt that they had to go along with it.
There's a conflation.
The thing is that because I originally, what am I trying to say? I originally thought they were just going along with the ideology to be accepted and not to go against the grain. But when your own children are mutilated or their lives are ruined over this and you support it, it shows that somehow it's more than just going along with the crowd. And
it's your fault.
They have actually assimilated it.
So I have a question. If someone was suffering from suicidal ideation because they were suffering from what we would call dimensional displacement, what's the treatment for it?
Yeah, psychiatric treatment, drugs.
Yeah, we depending on the severity of their threats of self-harm, we lock them up.
Yeah.
So when a kid claims they're in the wrong body and they need to be altered because they're actually a koala bear, do we give them surgery to make them a koala bear?
No.
There's no difference on race or gender. When a person who is a 6'3" white man who weighs 220 and goes, "I am a woman," it's like that's no difference than saying you're a raccoon or you're suffering from dimensional displacement. It is not a fact. It is not a reality. And the issue is we have created a medical treatment, the only DSM-5, as far as I know, that affirmation is the treatment.
Yeah.
If you pica is my favorite example. DSM-5 pica. You know what pica is?
No.
It's when you eat things that aren't food.
How'd you know I didn't know that?
Pica?
Yeah,
I didn't.
It's the only time you've asked me, do I know it? And I didn't know. Did my face show it, or you just sensed?
The assumption is that most people have not heard of the term pica.
Oh, okay. What is a pica?
Pica is when you eat things that aren't food. Some people eat hair. Some people eat pennies.
Nails.
Nails.
Yeah.
Yep. And really messed up stuff. Should we affirm them? Well, I can see you're eating rocks again. Well, I don't want you to feel depressed or upset. You got to eat the rocks.
There isn't a pica lobby.
Right. Yeah.
That's the problem. The other thing that I think it is when it comes to parents is that society now, because think of your Facebook mom groups in the way that everybody is now kind of viewed. The idea is like everybody's running for president all the time. You have to be perfect all the time. You don't get to employ your own methods for parenting without being under the scrutiny of everybody else, not just in your friends group, but whoever may interact with your kids down the line. And somewhere along the line,
I took for the Johnny Walker and the baby.
Yeah.
That was.
But the idea is that what used to be considered, unconditional love became unconditional acceptance, and gone are the days where you could love a child but not necessarily approve of everything they do, and that was enough. Right now, if you're a parent and you don't unconditionally support everything your kids do, you will be viewed as a bad parent, not doing your jobs, and you will be ostracized. And that, I think women especially will fall victim to this with the Facebook mom groups and the need for women to be part of social, the social cohesion and the way that they interact with one another enforces a certain level of conformity amongst all of them. And that's where a lot of this starts, is that you aren't allowed to be your own autonomous parent anymore without having to worry about the judgment and sometimes the intervention of
state,
people, of the state and people who might get the state involved.
That's the thing that I'm most scared about becoming a dad is like the idea of like me wanting to do something with my kid or not wanting my kid to see something or whatever, and then having to deal with the state.
Yeah.
You know? That's the last thing I want.
Well, I'm not. It's not so much the state right now. It's insurance companies.
Oh, okay.
Insurance companies are one of the biggest threats to human civilization, and I think people need to understand that. Depending on the medical treatments your child will get, you will be cut off from hospitals and doctors. Yep. There are certain things where they're like, here's some medication we want to give to your child. And you say, but my child's not sick. And they go, if you don't get it, you will be blacklisted from every medical provider because they're insurance company.
I feel like the left and the right can come to, like, maybe not everybody agrees that we should have universal health care, but we can all agree that insurance companies are pretty much evil. As much as
we can agree to that stuff, but that doesn't mean just because we agree to that stuff doesn't mean that we're going to have the same prescriptions of how to deal with it or what should be done about it.
The issue isn't people. The issue is humans in general. It's a system.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that everybody's going to agree on what the solution is, and God knows that getting the government involved rarely helps anything because it doesn't help anything ever. But to look at what's going on right now with insurance companies and pretend like that isn't a problem is also ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should make a dimensionally displaced lobby.
We could do,
dimensionally displaced.
Like, you know what we could do? We could hire Alex Stein to go to like
dimensional displacement.
Yeah. Like, we can hire Alex Stein to go lobby for
these kids are depressed because they're actually supposed to be popular and beloved. And the reason they're not is because they're temporarily in the wrong dimension. And if they were given the proper treatment, induced coma, they could reality shift into the dimension where they're popular and everyone loves them.
There was never an otherkin lobby. There could have been an otherkin lobby.
Ooh, I don't want anything to do with otherkins.
But are you talking about the more reasonable of the, and that's a stretch.
Yes.
I was going to say, original. What are you talking about?
Well, because there's the people who think they're dragons and the people who think they're monkeys.
And werewolves.
Yeah, and it's like, so otherkin, it was a big trend. It still kind of is. And it's effectively trans species. The only
you're going to laugh, but it's crazy.
There are people who walk around with fake cat ears and tails in their pants. They believe they're animals. This is not furries, by the way.
Not the same thing.
Yeah, not the same thing. And there have been people who have surgically altered themselves to be animals. Are we going to start providing them with species-affirming care?
Nope.
Well, you guys remember the transgender, trans-species tiger woman, right?
Yeah.
An adult human man got surgeries to look like a tiger, split his lip, got metal plates put in for whiskers, pointed the ears, shaved the teeth down, and then got a sex change to be a female tiger, and then committed suicide.
Whoa. Good grief.
That came to an abrupt end.
Yeah.
And guess what? I think it's fair to say the reason why suicide rates are high among trans people is because of the treatment.
Yeah.
And so what we find is the science shows.
I say as if I know what I'm talking about, but it makes sense.
So here's the issue. Desistance is that means that a person who is trans simply stops being trans. It's called desist. Trans children who are suffering from or diagnosed with gender dysphoria, have a desistance rate of like 65 to 90%. So that means if your 10-year-old is suffering from dysphoria, do nothing. By the time they're 13, they'll be like, I don't even remember what that was. The problem is they're now trying to do gender-affirming care on these kids and give them drugs and surgeries.
Reinforces it.
What happens? It locks them in, reinforces it, and then they end up suffering extremely high suicidality because of the treatments.
When I was a boy, I grew up in Indiana, and I used to get sick from nerves. If I had a test or a baseball game or something, wouldn't be able to go to the bathroom and so on. They sent me to the hospital for a week of tests, and then decided that it was all in my head. And then my mother took me to the doctor, and the doctor sat me down and said, "It's all in your head, and you have to learn to get over it." And I think it's one of the greatest things that ever happened to me.
Now they would give you a medication.
No, that's the whole thing. If I grew up,
be like, "You're a girl."
If I grew up now, they would. If I grew up today, I would have been severely medicated or something.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, either that or your parents would have lost you. Like they'd have come and taken you away from your parents. You know. if you didn't do, or if they didn't do the things that the state said they should, which is.
And remember, when the left reinforces all of the things that we've just discussed, they're doing so with a lawn sign by their home that says "Science is real."
God, yeah, they are.
By the way, I have an uncle, my aunt's husband, who has out of body experiences, and he's a scientist, and he's now retired scientist, and he wrote a book about it, and it has in that community, it has a kind of a special status because he's a scientist.
So lucid dreaming.
He says no. He said he actually leaves his body, and then he has like a golden umbilical cord, and that allows him, that connects you back to your physical body, and then over time you can work with it and you become better. You can go further distances and everything. At first, it's very hard to learn how to navigate, but you get better over time.
Joe Rogan would love to have him on.
I was going to say, it sounds like Joe Rogan stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know that I have all that much valuable input on like golden umbilical cords and stuff.
I'll have to do my research.
Right? To the astral plane and stuff. If Ian were here,
Ian would definitely be able to give us some
He'd have a
information on astral projection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have anything for it though.
That's my contribution for the evening.
I feel like we've just dumped a bunch of social ills on you tonight. Like, here's all these things that are crazy in the world. Enjoy.
It's crazy. There's this viral video where a young boy is getting injected with puberty blockers by his dad.
It's so crazy.
It's just like, look, the UK is conquered for their own reasons. The US, I think, is largely conquered, but maybe turning things around under Trump. We'll see if Trump can actually pull it off. But that's the issue with, say, like the big, beautiful bill. I talked to Rand Paul today. He said if he is the deciding vote, he will vote yes. And I'm like, that's good, because the crisis we're facing right now goes well beyond whether there will be inflation. Like, we're going to overspend, the debt will go up, and inflation's going to happen. It's like, yeah, they're also sterilizing children, you know, among other things.
It's weird because when everything was going on, it feels like that was 9 crises ago when everyone was discussing the different things that were in that bill. But maybe it's just me, but I never thought of Trump as fiscally prudent at all.
No,
he wasn't in his first term. Like, that's not to say that that's good. It's just, it wasn't something that I was expecting. I was going to wear the shirt that I got of Bill Clinton's. Like, when was the last time we had a balanced budget? Like,
Bill Clinton.
But it's just, I never thought of Trump as the dude who was going to come in for fiscal responsibility, because for the most part, whoever's going to get elected is going to, it's not a good thing, but the deficit's going to get worse. And I don't know if there is a candidate that is electable that is actually going to be able to take a dent out of it.
Yeah, I mean, at the risk of sounding like
the Borg will win out.
Yeah, I mean, at the risk of sounding like a mouthpiece for the administration, he was never a fiscal conservative. No. Like, he was, everybody that was pro-Trump knew that he was a Democrat, and
he likes the unions.
Yeah, he does.
That's the mindset, I think.
He's like, I can work with him, you know?
Yeah.
I think part of it might be because the first thing that he seemed to go into doing when he took office was the Doge cuts. So it became kind of it became more of a discussion about fiscal responsibility for the government. And I was just like, when does the spending start? Because I know the spending is going to start.
Yeah, I mean, the spending's definitely starting now. I assume it's because they need the funding to continue to, for the government to function. But that's the same thing you hear every year.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what year it is. It's always the same refrain. Well, we have to do this to keep the government open and blah, blah, blah. And in this particular issue, there's we need to go ahead and pass this funding bill so that way we can keep doing stuff with the border and blah, blah, blah. It's like they're just referencing things that the American people are generally happy with, and they're saying, well, we need the money to keep doing these things that you like. So it's nothing new, and nobody's surprised at all.
I guess I didn't expect anything except for maybe some tax cuts might happen, or like they have to ratify the 2017 tax cuts again.
That's important, If
that was the only thing I thought was going to happen this entire cycle of presidency.
Well, that's what this bill is.
Yeah.
I mean, you're probably right. It probably will be the only thing that happens. I mean, I could conceive of possibly getting some of the Doge cuts. Getting something passed with the Doge cuts, but I don't know what the House and the Senate schedules are like, so I don't know for sure if they have time because their schedule is so crazy. So I mean, I could conceive of it because I could imagine that there are Republicans that would be like, yeah, let's do this, and that I could see it getting passed, but I don't know if they're actually going to do anything. And to be honest with you, that should come as no surprise.
Let's jump to your chats, my friends. Smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. Before we do, though, we got a great sponsor. It's everyone's favorite, MyPillow. Shout out to Mike Lindell and MyPillow. We're all big fans. I use a MyPillow every single night, so go to mypillow.com/Tim. Use promo code Tim. It's the only promo code. If anybody tells you there's other promo codes, they're lying. Okay, they're not really, but promo code Tim is great. MyPillow's fantastic. They're great pillows. You buy them. You can get them custom filled, however much you want. Maybe you want a little light. Maybe you want it big and fluffy. Throw them in the dryer, pull them out. Bam. You got a great pillow. They got a bunch of other really awesome stuff, of course. They got, look at this. They got a pillow with a special little picture on it. With God, all things are possible. They got everything. They got Rev 7. This is amazing. Introducing energy drinks. We have these. We have these right over here. I recommend them. They're really good. They're
MyPillow
keto.
energy drinks.
Well, it's Rev 7. Carried by Mike Lindell. I do recommend them. For some reason, there's no sugar and they're delicious, which is surprising.
Gotta be better. Anything's better than those Jocko ones. No offense. They're just.
I love the Jocko
Oh
ones.
my gosh. I'm almost a month out of like being off energy drinks, and I think it was the Jocko one that ended up ruining it for me. I'm like, I can't do this shit anymore.
They've got like one. Those are okay, but the Rev 7s at mypillow.com/Tim. These are keto based, so there's no caffeine, there's no sugar. And they're great. I drink them, and they really do work. It's got I think it's called Go BHB ketones in it. So, like, if you guys know what ketose is, you don't eat sugar, your body produces it, use it as energy. It's really awesome. But buy some pillows, buy some towels. Support Mike Lindell. He put it all on the line for what he believes in and for Donald Trump. They came after him hard, but we're here for you, Mike. And you're here for us. Thanks for sponsoring the show. Let's grab your chats, my friends. We got Mythos. He says, first... Indeed you were.
Good job.
Shady Wilder says, I'm unsure if the possible Iranian visit to the White House will be a sign of peace or political theater. The fog of war is thick with all the Senate classified briefing next week. It feels like war. Yeah, maybe. Arsonist says, Tim, you're a bit harsh on Ted Cruz. He's a neocon, not a monster. I can fix him. Also, I was playing GTA 4 and Roman called me and said, you want to go watch Timcast together? You got to chill. Hey. He goes on to say, I lost a lot of respect for people in politics recently, but gained some for others. Expect you, Tim. You haven't changed since I subbed all those years ago, at least without good reason. Thank you all.
Is there anything you think you've changed on drastically? Like, are there any guns?
But that was in 2018, so that counts today. Mostly no.
How old are you?
I am 39. Yeah. Mostly no.
I had 2 conversions.
When?
Hard to say exactly when. One was political. I went from left to right.
When was that?
It really started when I got married and had kids. That's where I think it's. But I actually changed parties after 9/11.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I voted for Al Gore.
Oh wow.
And then but holding my nose, I didn't really. My thinking was out of sync with my behavior. I was a professor though. I was in academia, so I was trying to make it in that world.
What were you a professor of?
Middle Eastern Studies.
Oh, okay, interesting.
And then I converted religion.
To what?
Catholicism.
Oh, okay. The superior
Christianity
denomination.
Yeah.
You're Catholic.
No. We just did a debate last week on various denominations. It was largely Orthodox versus Catholic, and they were screaming at each other.
Yeah, Tate came in for the show. He was like, man, they were yelling. It's like, man, going on.
I know, and it was like
passions.
But it was yelling, and they were speaking Latin. And I was like, I have no idea what's going on.
Yelling in Latin is...
Who's possessed right now?
Yep, I was like, what I don't know that one. What were you before?
Nothing.
Oh, okay.
My parents were Irish, but I'm on both sides of the divide. My dad was Catholic, and my mother was Protestant, and I was raised as nothing.
What made you convert?
Well, when I got married, I committed to raise my kids Catholic, so that I kind of just brought it all together. But I had long had the inclination to do it. It was like coming home. My dad was a non-practicing Catholic, but Catholicism to me seems like common sense.
I am a lapsed Catholic.
Come back.
I was when I was little. I don't believe it. Just it's not there. So I'm not going to pretend to.
My favorite line from the Bible is, "I believe, O Lord, help me in mine unbelief."
If I'm ever looking at a massive collapse of subscribers and I, in a desperate move, need to grift,
Oh no!
I'll just be like, "Oh Lord," I'm kidding. I don't. I think there's a lot of people who do that.
I think
they're
you're
like,
right.
"Oh, hey, look at me, I found God," and I'm like, "Well, I'm not going to pretend."
I lost subscribers, so I found God.
That's what the worst thing is about when people call me a grifter, and I'm like, I wish.
I mean, that term has no meaning anymore. People, that just means you said something I don't like now.
That's right.
Like they can't imagine a world where somebody would say something they disagree with because they believe it, but other than because it's some op against them.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. How many? It's crazy how many words have been totally ruined because people just use them so carelessly and imprecisely.
Like it's one of the hardest things to prove too, because you're actually saying that you know what's in that person's heart, that they don't believe what they're saying, and that's a very, very lofty claim to make against somebody.
It's like sellout.
Yeah.
All right. T-Bomb says, new board idea, have Tim write with a calligraphy pen the word merciless until he gets a good sample, and slap that on a board. You know what? I can announce this. Let me see if I can pull this up. I
didn't understand that at all.
Skateboards.
Oh, okay.
Calligraphy.
We got T-shirts.
I see.
Look at these Boonies T-shirts.
There we go.
So if you guys want to get the Boonies, look at that one. The American flag with skateboards. And it says Boonies. And then we got this one. It's got a rooster. And it says skateboarding, content, and culture. So plus we are going to make shirts of the board graphics. And we're going to make cast brew shirts of the coffee graphics, but without like the writing, of course. But, these are the skateboards that we got. My favorite, of course, is the 28th Amendment. It says, chickens being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep, bear, and breed chickens shall not be infringed. And if you own chickens, you must own one of these and hang it up. But Step on Snack and Find Out sells out all the time. We got one of those. But I will say this, just in reference to the boards that the Super Chat brought up. The next series, and if you know what it is, don't say it. It's going to be a surprise. The next series will be coming out hopefully in like the next few days or a week or so. We will get in a lot of trouble for them, but I imagine they'll sell out instantly over and over and over again. And
Go fast.
they're going to go fast. And I think people are going to get very mad at me.
They're going to get very mad.
Oh, yeah. But it must be done. So, it's going to be fun. Stay tuned.
For the lulls, I guess.
Anyway, T-Rex Pet Shop said, you should have had a Mormon on the culture war. They believe they're the only true Christian church based on the original organization and doctrine restored in the latter days. They were wrong to say they're non-Christians.
Mountain Jews.
We should do that. We should do another debate where it's like Orthodox, Catholic, and Mormon.
Get a Jehovah's Witness, too.
I mean, honestly, I'd love to get a Scientologist to actually discuss Scientology.
They won't.
They won't do it.
Nope.
They won't. And I know a lot of prominent Scientologists. I'm friends with some, and they won't. They will not
admit it either.
And when I say friends, it's not like I hang out every single day, but there are people that I talk to on a regular basis that I know are Scientologists, and I don't care, but they don't talk about it. They will not. And in several instances, we've had people actually say, nope. Yeah. They're like, and if it comes up, I'll leave. And I'm like, okay, I don't whatever. I don't really care about that. We can talk about news and stuff, but I think it'd be great to actually have a Scientologist talk about what they believe. I don't know why you don't hear it.
Yeah.
Like, honest question. Shouldn't they be on shows being like, here's our actual belief structure? Oh, guess not.
Probably not.
I stopped by one of their, the one in Hollywood. I was walking by their center there. This is years ago. And I tried to I was curious too, so I just wanted to have a conversation. But they start sucking you in. They make you fill out stuff, and
I bought the book.
I got bored very quickly.
I bought Dianetics.
And
I kind of laughed after the first chapter and then stopped reading out of boredom. So I was skateboarding down Hollywood, and there was a guy waving, and I got nothing else to do, so I stopped, and he was like, "Are you familiar with Dianetics?" And I was like, "That's like a precursor to Scientology, right?" And I can't remember what he said, but something like, "Well, it's associated, but it's not necessarily. But are you familiar with it?" And I was like, "Nope." And he's like, "Well, what are you familiar? You don't know anything about it?" And I said, "Just what I've seen on the TV." And he goes, "Oh, South Park, huh?" And I was like, "Yep." And he was like, "Do you always base your beliefs off of cartoons?" And I laughed and I said, "No." And he goes, "Why don't you come in and I'll tell you about it?" But then he gives me an e-reader and tells me to hold it and tells me to envision things. And I was like, "My guy, you're not." He was like, "I want you to hold these things, and then I want you," I forget what he said, like, think of something that caused you trauma. I can't remember. And then I'm like, sitting, I'm like, okay. And then I see like the needle move, and he goes, "What were you thinking about?" And I was like, "The letter F." And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "I literally just pictured a big letter F and nothing else." And he was like, "Oh." And I'm like, "Why'd the meter move?" And he didn't know. And I was like, "Look, man, come on." Because I think what they do is they're like, imagine a trauma, and then you imagine like getting spanked by your dad. The meter moves, and you go, "Oh, imagine a spanking." That proves it. And I'm like, "Nah,
Where's that
big
proves
letter F yelling at kids."
I mean, that's just to weed you out anyways as somebody who's not pliable for what they...
Of course. Yeah, of course. It's like in the Nigerian email scams. I've seen this before. People will be like, "I got one of these email scams," and they're so dumb. Like the grammar is all messy, and it's obviously a scam. These people are stupid. And I'm like, no, they're smart. They intentionally write with bad grammar because they want to avoid smart people. They want only stupid people who are not going to notice these mistakes to send them money. And it works. Yeah. All right, what do we got here? Trader Potato says, "Yo, Phil, what pants are you wearing in your last IG reel? Been looking for a good pair with knee pad inserts."
They're Cry combat pants. So.
Based African says, "The anime How a Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom explores how a country should approach debt, war, and internal corruption. Basically, it follows the idea of minimize harm to endear yourself to enemies, citizens, while removing their leadership." Ian Kinney says, "Why did YouTube just give me an ad in the middle of the live stream? Never had that before." So YouTube has changed how ads work on YouTube. So earlier this year, they announced we started getting these notifications on videos where it said, "Soon all ads will be placed automatically." And it was like, as of May, the ability to can you still place ads?
You can still place ads,
but they automatically run them no matter what.
You can. So if you turn off automated ads, right, you can drop your own ads in there. And what I found is, like, on the live stream, I'm not talking about the segments, you drop your ads every 15 minutes, 15, 30, 45, all the way to the end. It automatically demonetizes the first 3 ads, which is your largest space of time where you're actually getting viewership, which sinks any ability to really get revenue from that, because the people who are watching to the end, theoretically, you're going to see more. Like if somebody makes it to the 4th ad, they're staying the whole way to the end anyways. But the ones who join for just the first few segments, you're not going to get any ads on any of that. So you have to leave the automated ads on.
YouTube basically said, if you don't run ads, we nuke your monetization.
Yeah.
So it's like you can be off platform and broke, or you can just run ads the way we want ads to be run.
And it drops like 60 ads in there, but not all of them are going to end up showing on the
Right. So basically what happens is if you upload a video to YouTube, it'll let you place ads, and then when you do, if you go back like half an hour later, they're all red.
Yep.
It's all nope, not allowed. And it's okay. And then it will automatically choose where to put ads on all your videos from now on, and it does a ton. Yeah. But YouTube claims they have a limiter so that you can't see a certain amount of ads in a certain amount of time, because they're tracking you individually. It's per person, my understanding is, because they want to make sure you don't leave the program or leave the video. So everybody has a different threshold for ads.
Yeah.
You know.
And it's different for videos as opposed to live streams. Like on the live streams, there's an option to like turn on ads during the live stream, which most people don't. Yeah. Well, yeah, you have to turn it off every day.
And it actually, so what happens now is it just changed it on us. No longer gives us It used to say, do you want ads? A little bit, a lot, no ads. Now it just says ad frequency, low, medium, high. And then you have to go in, and then there's like a drop-down menu to get, I will choose where the ads go. And it basically gives you a warning, like, we're gonna nuke your channel if you do this.
I don't even want the XP stuff in the live chat.
You don't want it? I want that.
You want the live?
Yeah, Tales from the Inverted World, live at 10 p.m. tonight. They have the experience points ranking system already. And I reached out to Google and said, we want that. And they said, it's an experimental product, so it's not available.
Like, I don't need, like nobody in our chat even knows how it works. It doesn't seem to follow any type of rule whatsoever. Like the first person.
It's not real yet.
Yeah.
But the general idea is, for those that are wondering, some channels have a ranking system now where if you are a dedicated user who super chats and is a member, you earn experience and then actually get ranked and appear next to the stream. Like in the chat, you can click like XP rankings and you can see who the biggest fan is.
When we click the XP rankings, nothing shows up. Like people will get the badge when they're chatting, but when I go and look at the XP rankings, it's just blank.
Man, that's a bummer.
Could be because it's beta testing.
Yeah, it's an experimental launch, I guess.
I mean, they're just looking for ways to keep people engaged and on platform.
Yeah, we don't have it.
Yeah.
Lame.
Shameful.
Lame. I'm excited because Real Hydra would be like #1.
Yes.
He's like one of the...
Shane H. Wilder would be high up there.
Yeah. Raymond G. Stanley Jr.
Yeah.
He'd be huge. All right. Cybercast says, I'm 23 and conservative. I will cheer them losing the midterms. My entire life, American legacy has been actively sold. I'm no longer conservative. I'm far right. Ooh. Did you guys see that weird clip where...
Over Iran?
I'm assuming.
Don't
Israel?
Do it. No, don't do it. Don't do it.
Did you guys see the clip where Tucker was asking Ted Cruz about Israel spying on us?
Yeah.
And I don't understand why Ted Cruz, he really couldn't handle himself. He tried doing the "Why are you so obsessed with Israel?" and I'm like, no.
I thought he got the better of Tucker on that issue.
On the Israel one?
Yeah.
I disagree. He tried playing the "Why are you obsessed with Israel?" That doesn't work when you're actively involved in war with Israel, like alongside them. The point I bring up to people in the past several months when they were like, Israel controls the world, and I'm like, the Saudis have more influence. Like U.S. presidents go to Saudi Arabia and beg them to stay on the petrodollar lease and not pump oil. But when there's a bombing campaign from Israel, our ally, that we're defending and supplying, it is absolutely understandable why we are talking about Israel in this context. So to then go, well, what about China? It's like, my dude, Israel is bombing Iran right now. We're allowed to talk about it. That's why it's annoying when people are like, someone commented and they were like, oh, Tim, I thought we were obsessed with Israel. Why are you talking about Israel? And it's like, my dude, it's because they bring it up when we're not engaged in a conflict and there's an active conflict that we are engaged in. When Ukraine is the war, they're talking about Israel. Now Israel is involved in the war. We talk about Israel. That's fine. That was always allowed. I thought Tucker did a terrible job. He should have just said, it's really easy. Should Mossad spy on us? No. Next question. I see how hard that is. It's like, okay, well, they do.
Ted Cruz
I know it's bad.
Ted Cruz should have said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually, I had a different reaction. Number one, I don't think the Israelis spy on us in any serious way. They can't. If they do, they get into all kinds of problems. And I have talked to Mossad people about this. I talked to a former deputy head of Mossad, and he said, you don't know how strict it is for us. I can't, if I'm running an operation anywhere in the world and I want to surveil someone, if it's an American citizen anywhere in the world, I have to go all the way up to the prime minister to get permission to do it. I believe him because it's the power disparity is such that if they did actively spy, it could really harm them, which it did with Pollard, what they did.
But I'd imagine that's for the average American citizen. I imagine there is select spying that they do.
No, not. I would say we spy on them much more than they spy on us.
Sure, but they spy on us.
There will be. I mean, it depends on what you mean by spying. They're not running any active programs to try to surveil us or anything.
I would say to whatever degree, from the lightest to the heaviest, whatever, there is active spying from Israel on the United States. It could be that there's a few people of interest that they have approval to spy on, and they do. I'm sure
that could well be a few people, but it's not to spy on the U.S. government. There'll be American citizens who get wrapped up into something. But the other
I can't believe
the other thing is that I thought that what Ted Cruz said was right.
What did he say?
As a general principle, just
Everybody
the
spies
world.
on everybody?
Yeah, the world is the way it is, and the amount of spying that we do on other people is.
I don't disagree. I think the issue was that he was flustered for no reason, and it looks really bad.
Yeah,
it was the classic Nixon Kennedy situation.
Yeah, okay, that's another. That's his demeanor is another thing. But
wait, real bad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Tucker
like
was running
optics wise, if you're somebody that's not paying the closest attention to what's going on, if a government official looks that flustered over those questions, like regardless of whether you think his answers are right or not, it doesn't help if he doesn't look like he can handle the questions that are fed to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like if Tucker says, "Do you think Mossad is spying?" Yeah. Isn't that a bad thing? Yep.
I mean, that's just like, I imagine that the average person just believes that, allies spy on allies and that this stuff is going on at all times.
Except for the Five Eyes Spy Club, we just share all the data with each other. Hey, UK, I'll spy on your guys, you spy on mine, and then you give me the data and I give you mine. We bypass the law.
It's really frustrating that they do that kind of stuff.
Yep. I tweeted earlier today as kind of a joke, but it's kind of taken off. I said I want regime change in the UK.
Because of the abortion ruling today?
No, just
because
the UK sucks. Regime change. No, I was watching something about like some fat middle-aged woman getting arrested for being mean on the internet.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, Karens are allowed to Karen. Not in
there.
the UK, they're not.
Not there, they're not.
Not in the UK.
Not at all.
Oh no, I was watching a thing where when they're swearing in politicians who are Muslim, non-Muslims aren't allowed to touch the Quran. Did you hear that?
Muslims aren't allowed to touch the Quran?
Yeah.
Really?
So it's in like a special cloth that they have to then hold up and give to a Muslim so they can swear on it because, non-Muslims can't touch it. Something like that. And I was like, really? That's weird. I don't know what's going on over there, huh? But I did see that Count Dankula is thin.
Yeah.
Has he lost weight?
That's some regime change I am for.
Yeah.
Shout out to Count Dankula.
Yeah.
How's it been, buddy? It's been a minute.
Hopefully he's doing okay.
Seems to be. He's fit as a fiddle. All right, what do we got here? Neglectful Sausage says, third grade math. A B-52 departs from Taiwan at 500 nautical miles per hour. An Israeli B-2 departs from Tel Aviv at 350 nautical miles per hour. Which one gets to make a 3-mile Ayatollah first? Does that mean like an asset? What does that mean? Oh.
Making a nuclear joke.
Oh. Common Sense Fishing says, could it be possible China smuggled a nuke into Iran via 3 trips? Making plausible deniability if nuke used, that would sure mess things up globally. I don't think they need to use 3 planes to bring in a nuke.
But
Sorry. When you mentioned the story earlier about the 3 planes, and when you look at that image of the planes on satellite and how everybody's kind of skirting around it, it's like if there's actual uranium on those planes, that is something they end up making a movie about 20 years later once all the information is declassified.
There is a realistic possibility that the Iranians have something in escrow in North Korea.
In escrow in North Korea, as in like just saved up?
No, that the Iranians have. What if the Iranians have purchased something from the North Koreans? The North Koreans are holding it.
Yeah,
that's not an unrealistic possibility.
North Korea gets caught with, they're like, I'm sorry, I was holding it for a friend.
Well, yeah, North Korea's. Yeah, it's my friend's. It wasn't mine.
It wasn't mine.
And I mean, well, North Korea's already thought to have nuclear weapons, so they probably assume that it's safer to have them hold on to it, and say, and rely on the fact that the international community is not going to be like, we need to send inspectors in to make sure, because the international community is kind of like, well, they already got them, so it's a little too late for these guys.
Yeah.
Exton Man says the Boeing 747 stops in Turkmenistan and continues on to Luxembourg. Bad coverage for flights in that area. Interesting. No idea. He says Cargo Lux operates regular service between Luxembourg and Turkmenbashi. Flight trackers have issues in that area, possibly due to authoritarian rule. Interesting.
We should have gotten those Taylor Swift flight trackers on all this. We would have solved this problem
We should have.
weeks ago.
Yeah. What do you guys do? Well, they're not. They're busy trailing Taylor Swift.
Like if we just tell them, it's like, look, it's about climate change. It's not about nuclear war. It's about climate change. We'll get this solved in no time at all.
I feel like they'd still be busy chasing Taylor Swift.
Conant says DJT met with Saudis, UAE, and had China trade deal in last 30 days. Iran was discussed with all three behind the scenes. Interesting. I think so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, except the Saudis told Trump that they want peace and quiet.
Interesting. Who doesn't? You know, I'm sure they just want to sit back in their lounge chairs, some chicken wings, football game.
That's what I want.
International football, though, so
Yes,
soccer.
yes.
We call it. It's called soccer over there, but we say soccer. They say football. All right, we'll grab one more here. What do we got? What is this? Jimmy says this is nothing new. All large civilizations that become technologically advanced go insane and destroy themselves. Fermi's paradox. The great filter. We build VR chambers, lock ourselves in, and then die. My friends, smash the like button. Share the show with everyone you know. The uncensored call-in show will be coming up at rumble.com/Timcast IRL in about a minute or so. You don't want to miss it. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Mike, do you want to shout anything out?
I don't have anything to say. What
Got a social media?
I have a podcast, Israel Update.
Hey, there you go.
With Gotti Taub.
Israel Update. Well, there you go.
Thanks a lot.
Guys, if you want to follow me, I'm on Instagram and Twix at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. But what you should do is check out Pop Culture Crisis. We are live Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. YouTube at Rumble. We'll see you there.
I'm also on Doranimated on X, at Doranimated.
At Doranimated. I'm Phil That Remains on Twix. I'm Phil That Remains Official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains. You can check out our new record. It's entitled Anti-Fragile. You can find it on YouTube, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Spotify, Pandora, and Deezer. Don't forget the left lane is for crime.
We will see you all over at rumble.com/TimcastIRL. Thanks for hanging out.